Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like to welcome Jarrod Haning. Jarrod, how are you today?
Hello, my friend. Hello, hello.
Hey, so the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can talk about anything you want except your business. You'll have up to 5 minutes afterward to pitch up a storm. But if you mention your business during the interview, you'll lose 1 minute of pitch time per infraction. Simple enough?
Sounds fair to me.
Very cool. Well, let me go ahead and start the timer just to keep us honest here. And what would you like to talk about for the next 20 minutes? Or would you like me to just pick one? You sent over some great stuff. So
yeah, let's pick from that list.
Well, the first one that caught my eye is that you said that you could split an arrow Robin Hood style from 50 feet. And I'm like, that's a bold claim. Let's start there.
When I was in high school, I would shoot archery every day after school, and I sucked at it. I mean, I was horrific. My dad would come home and he would just shoot these little bitty tight groups, and he didn't practice at all. And I'm practicing every day, and I was super frustrated. So that went on for about, I don't know, maybe a year that I did that. And I just kind of outgrew it, so to speak. And then flash forward, I don't know, 25 years later, I don't know, something bit me. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to start shooting again. So I went and bought a cheap bow. Now, when I was in high school, that was my goal. I was like, man, I would love to be able to split an arrow. I would love to be that good. So I picked it up. And I think I started shooting again in January. This was a couple years ago, and just started shooting. I shot for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes a day or so, and just got better and better and better and better, until I was able to split an arrow. And, once you reach that level, you realize that splitting an arrow isn't that big of a deal. And actually it becomes the opposite. You start shooting, at multiple targets, because you don't want your arrows to hit each other because they're expensive. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a good time. Very, very thankful to check that goal off my list.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously that took quite a bit of practice. What was it that kept you focused on that goal then, as opposed to any other time in your life? Because that's, you say it's easy once you can do it. But getting to the point where you can do it and make it feel easy, that's considerable. So how did that work for you?
How did that work out? I'm going to go with the same answer I give people about music. In my previous life, I was a full-time musician.
Okay.
And people would say, oh my gosh, you must be talented. And I would say, it doesn't feel like talent. It feels like spending half your life in a closet perfecting a small motion. That's what it feels like. Well, it was the same thing with archery. I don't necessarily believe there is such a thing as talent, so much as there is an interest. You had an innate interest in that topic, and you just enjoyed coming back to it. And so you kept coming back, and that was your practice time. So for archery, I just simply enjoyed shooting. It wasn't like a magic trick. It wasn't a willpower or discipline. I just enjoyed it. What some people might not know about archery if you haven't done that, but it is very similar to maybe like rifle or handgun, in that when it goes off, it should surprise you. You're relaxed. You're not moving. You're not thinking. Well, that might be an exaggeration. But the idea is you're not doing anything to make it go. And you're just moving so slow and so gradual that when it goes, part of you's like, whoa, okay, that was the moment. And that's what allows it to fly true without you kind of getting in the way.
Absolutely. I love that. That's something that comes up over and over again on this video cast with different guests, is just that natural state of not trying it. I use the term wu wei, non-force, and how a lot of people think that that means you don't do anything, and that's not true at all. You're constantly evolving, but you're evolving to the point where it becomes natural. It becomes part of the natural state, the non-forced state, which is, you know, what you're talking about here, where you don't have to try so hard because you have that skill developed and encoded into every fiber of your being.
Yeah, it is a combination. Sure, there is something to be said about skill. In the case of archery, though, it's more meditative. The skill of not thinking, the skill of not thinking that you're going to make it do better, the skill of not trying, the skill of just quietly not doing anything.
Nice.
That's tough. That's tough to do.
It really is.
You want to control it.
It is, and the control is the issue in every aspect of our lives. So, you know, learning to control that in one, or to manage that in one area, or to let go. I guess you're not controlling control. I don't know how that works. And if you're letting go in one area, then that encourages you to incorporate that into other aspects of your life too.
It does. It does.
Really
there
cool.
is a kind of a inverse. Is it inverse correlation? In the world of music, the higher somebody is performing as a musician, and they've done MRI studies on this, the more parts of their brain that they're using, and using more parts at one time. And this is even true on like lower levels. If you're just like clapping your hands or singing along at a concert, in that moment, you're using more of your brain than any other time. But this is the opposite for athletes. When somebody is in an athletic venture, the higher they're performing, the less of their brain they're using. They enter kind of a meditative state. And one of the theories is it's because the brain, it sucks up so many resources that we need those resources to be going to the muscles. We can't afford to spend them on brain power, so the brain quiets down.
Oh, okay.
One of the ways that they perform higher.
Sure. Okay. In a more physically demanding activity.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Let's go to, you have given 4 TEDx presentations.
Yes. I think everybody should do at least one.
Okay.
I mean, heck.
Okay. And so what's your deepest reason behind that statement? Why should everybody do at least one?
Well, I think everybody has something to say. I think everybody has something that is worth sharing, that other people can learn from. And the beauty of TED in the TEDx format is like 6 minutes. That's a great talk. 5 minutes. We're totally thrilled. It doesn't need to be an hour. Heck, they won't even let you go past 18 minutes. And just sharing what you have to say. I think it's a good experience. Now, I do acknowledge that some people are terrified of stages and speaking in public, and for them, it probably wouldn't be a good experience. But like skydiving, if part of you feels that call and that nudge, you'll always regret not finding out what it's like. I love TED. I'm happy to talk TED stories and TED videos, and well, there's some great ones out there.
That's really cool. So tell me about that progression, because, you know, I think most of the people that I know who have given a TED talk or TEDx talk have just done it once, and it's almost like a tick off on their list, you know. Yes. Oh, if I want to be, you know, the next level of coach or the next level of business owner or whatever, then I need to have a TEDx talk behind me, which I think is the wrong reason to do it. But that's just my personal belief. But having done 4, what's that experience been like for you progressing through each one?
I want to say it's kind of funny because if you haven't done a TEDx talk and you like watching TED Talks, it seems like it's this like really big deal. Like, oh my gosh, you did a TED Talk. So what happens is these small towns are holding their events and they need speakers. I did some events where they never even met me. I just sent in the idea for my talk and they said, all right, come on down. We'll film it. No interview, nothing. But I also did other stages where it was a very lengthy interview and they wanted to be sure that you were up to their standards. And So when you go through that on the back end, you realize that it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. And I like what you said about people feeling like they have to have a TED Talk in order to be a coach. I don't think there's really a connection at all. I agree with you.
Yeah. It's just something that I've noticed. If you're doing it just to be doing it, or doing it, for business ends, then it seems like you don't get the reason for it in the first place.
Agree.
Yeah. Absolutely. And honestly, I haven't done one yet because, I haven't come up with a topic that I felt like was appropriate for one, and maybe someday. And until then, I'm not going to worry about it. But that's
one of the things that happens when you're in the process of getting booked is your topic changes. The committee is juggling all these other presenters and all these topics, and they're crafting a day that is well balanced. And sometimes they come back to you, the speaker search committee, and they say, hey, we like your style, we like your energy. But the thing is, we have somebody who's talking about this, and your topic is kind of close to theirs. How would you feel about talking about this instead? So it's like this organic process. It's not a perfection polished thing. All you're doing is raising your hand saying, hey, if I can contribute to your event, I'd be happy to help. And then you guys kind of work together.
If there's somebody who's listening who's thought, I've always wanted to do that, and not just for business gain, what would be your one piece of advice for them?
Just apply.
Just
do
apply.
It. Yeah. So you can go to the TEDx map, and you can find all the TEDx events that are within however far you're willing to drive. I mean, I did events where people were flying in. You don't get paid to give a TEDx talk, and people were flying in on their dime to give this talk. So just apply to however many you want to. You're not going to get accepted at all of them, and you have no idea. So apply to 20 of them. just see what happens.
Letting go of the outcome is an important thing there. Applying to multiples. I know a gentleman who was declined 6 times before he finally was accepted for a TED Talk. And so that's, going through that process, and for him, it was about refining. And just going like, okay, I'm going to extract the data from this experience and learn how I can make what I'm doing better. Rather than just take it as a personal insult and go, okay, well, I must just not be cut out for this, and the heck with it. Right.
Yeah. So, if you get turned down, it's not a reflection of you, and it's not a reflection of your talk.
Yeah.
They're having to craft a day that's balanced. They might have had 17 people apply with the same topic.
Exactly.
You just don't know.
Cool. So let's go to a fun one. 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Oh, come on. Everybody's 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Okay. Everybody is?
I mean, now you're 3 degrees from Kevin Bacon because you know me.
Okay.
I had a friend that was a stand-in for him. When they do movies, the actor gets to stay in the trailer to the last minute, and somebody who's his size and his build stands in front of the camera with similar clothes while they adjust the lighting and the focus and all that stuff. And then at the last minute, they bring the actor out. So a friend of mine was a stand-in, which puts me 2 degrees from Kevin Bacon.
2 degrees from Kevin Bacon. Okay. Which again puts me 3 degrees from Kevin Bacon now, which I'll be honest with you, I think that's as close as I want to get to Kevin Bacon. I mean, nothing against the guy, but I'm 3 degrees is close enough. I'm good with that now. Yeah. Okay. Wow, we're really running out of time here so quickly.
How long is the podcast?
Well, you know what? This session is 20 minutes. So we got about 6 minutes left for this part, and then you get to tell us about your business and how people can contact you and everything. So you've behaved so far. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're pretty well safe at the end. So you know what? I'm not going to count this one because I'm bringing it up. Broke $100K as a freelance musician working 20 hours a week.
All right, let's
talk about that.
And that's not my current business. So you're right. It doesn't
We're
count.
good. Yeah.
Back in the day, I was a full-time professional musician, classically trained. And what I'm going to share with you applies no matter what business you're in. So don't just think like you got to be a musician to apply what I'm going to share with you. So yes, when I was a full-time musician, I was frustrated with not bringing in enough money. I was working 40 hours a week. I was making 50,000 a year. And I was frustrated. But I acknowledged that even though there's musicians making less, there's plenty of musicians making more. So I stopped thinking of my income stream as a byproduct of the industry I was in, and I started thinking of it as a byproduct of how I was in that space. I made 3 changes, and these you can do regardless of the business that you're in, although they apply especially to the arts. So like if you were painting or knitting or doing pottery or teaching music or dance or karate or whatever it is. Okay. The first thing I did is I took my time out of the equation. Parents were coming to me to teach their kids. I stopped trading my time in that equation, and I gave the parents the result that they wanted, and the parents gave me permission to get that result the best way I saw fit. Now, I was the expert, so that was in my domain. Now, when you go see the doctor doesn't schedule you, doesn't check you in, doesn't reschedule you, doesn't tell you how to take your medicine, doesn't take your vitals, doesn't even ask you the questions, for crying out loud. The doctor comes in for the 5 minutes that they're needed for and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was what I chose to do with music instruction, is I would line the kids up down the hall. They don't need me to unpack. They don't need me to warm up. They don't need me to tune. They just need me to come in, diagnose. They don't need me to practice. And so I would do that. So I would be in and out of the rooms. They felt great. They loved it. I don't know if you've ever had like piano lessons or something as a kid, but man, sometimes when you're learning a new skill, it is freaking miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers demonstrates and you sit down to play, you sit down, you almost touch the keys, and already your teacher's going, no, not like that. You got it. And you're thinking, geez, Louise, at least let me get warmed up, for Christ, my first.
Right.
Okay. So it got rid of that. They felt safe. Parents loved it. That one move doubled my teaching income without charging more.
Nice.
Because I took time out of the equation. So that's the first thing. Now, you can take time out of the equation by writing a book, by writing a teaching manual and sharing it with the world, by doing tutorial videos, by doing group lessons. I mean, there's lots of ways to take your time out of the equation and share your knowledge. Okay, second thing I did is I stopped sending them away with money. So they would come to me and they would say, Jarrod, we have some extra money burning a hole in our pocket. What should we do with it? And I would say, oh gosh, don't give it to me. Take it down the road and give it to the music store. Duh, stop doing that. Takes about 15 minutes to fill out a retail license. Then I called up the music distributors and said, hey, I've got a small shop. I want to carry your stuff. Done. Now a student would come to me and say, hey, what music stand should I use? What strings or accessories or metronome or instrument? What should I use here? I would say, come back next week. I'll have one for you. And of course, a couple times a year, I'm going to have a student that's buying an instrument. So that move alone, 15 minutes to get the retail license, brought in an extra $25,000 that year. And I didn't have to inventory anything because they would come to me and I would say, great, come back next week. I'll have one for you. The third thing I did is I stopped looking at playing gigs like weddings and symphonies and that kind of thing. And I started looking at booking gigs. Now, when you take your time out of the teaching equation, there's no limit on the number of people you can reach. When you take your time out of the performing equation, there's no limit on the number of people you can reach. So I started booking gigs for other musicians, and I started booking gigs for my students. Like I would tell them, hey, listen, I've got this apprentice player. You know, you can have them for less. I rehearse with them extensively. They're really good. So, I mean, it was just those 3 things. And you can do that if you're in pottery or painting or dance or karate or whatever you're in. You can teach people. You can give them access to the equipment that they need to succeed, and you can give them access to opportunities to share their new knowledge. Those are the 3 things I did that took me from $50,000 a year at 40 hours a week to $100,000 a year at 20 hours a week. And I believe anybody can do those same things.
That's really impressive. That it truly is. That's the opposite of how most people in creative disciplines think. They're taught to be service providers and service providers only.
Yeah.
That's not a fun trap to be in, especially if, you several years down the road, you're kind of getting burnt out on that.
Mm-hmm.
and that's just one aspect of it that that I have noticed in that industry and with any creative industry, which I consider, what I do as part of that, is that, yeah, if you're just doing for people all day, every day, that sooner or later, not only are you going to get tired of making the same amount of cash, you're going to be tired of doing it. I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just for me.
Yeah.
But, well, you know what? We have actually successfully completed the 20-minute challenge. Yes, and confetti and all that stuff. So excellent, excellent insights, and I've enjoyed getting to know you. And because I'm a man of my word, you have the floor for 5 minutes to tell us about your business, your offer, how people can get in touch with you. It's up to you.
Sure, happy to help. The story I just told about music is related to what I do now. The breakthrough I had in music came from thinking at a higher level. How can I make a bigger difference with less time? How can I reach more people with less time? When you're in the corn maze and you're not sure if you should go left or right, and you maybe try this way and that way, but you're still not sure. Now imagine what happens when you stand on a ladder. You're only 2 feet higher or 3 feet higher, but now you can see the whole maze and there's no mystery. And that's the power when you start thinking at a higher level of solving these problems. So after many years as a professional musician, I went into business as a performance coach. And what I do is I train small business owners how to think at a higher level. We've got a Nobel-nominated process. Now, just like the corn maze analogy, it's as a result of thinking at a higher level and solving solutions more efficiently. Normally, they double their income. Not all of them, but normally they double their income because now they're just thinking and coming up with better solutions and more efficient solutions. It's crazy. But here's what I say to anybody. I know that sounds like snake oil. Don't take my word for it. I'll give you a chance to just try it out for yourself. I've got a link on my site where you can try that Nobel-nominated process out for yourself. It is mindsetcall.co. You can go to mindsetcall.co. Lee, I'd be happy to share it with you too. Mindsetcall.co. It's just a short little application. And if it looks like it's going to be a good fit for you, I will get you access to the mindset reset. What it does is it's going to print up a graph of your thinking patterns. And that graph is the key. When we had a $400,000 earner who wanted to go to $1 million, we start right here. Because if you keep hitting the same obstacles in your business, don't have enough time, don't have enough money, keep hiring the wrong people, whatever it is, it's not because you're not working hard enough. It just means there's something about it your brain hasn't seen yet. So let's get those thinking patterns mapped out so we can find that blind spot that's been tripping you up. Well, he found his blind spot. And one of those for him was he wasn't clear on his sweet spot, the thing he did better than everything else. We did some mindset push-ups to rewire the way his brain solved those problems. He went from 400,000 to 1.2 million in a year and a half. I recently had a 600,000 earner. Same thing. He saw it. He wants to go from 600 to a million. Where do we start? Well, we got to see your thinking patterns. We got to understand why you're in the situation that you are. Granted, 600,000 is a great situation to be, but without understanding what got him there, we're not going to know how to take him to $1 million.
Right.
So the work I do as a performance coach, I deal with a lot of small business owners and leaders, teaching them how to think at a higher level so they can make a bigger difference while working less hours.
Very cool. Very cool. And we will have the links in the show notes as well. So people can go ahead and take that and find out for themselves. So really cool for you to offer that. I really appreciate that, Jarrod. Any last words?
Thanks for having me on. I do have a question about the logo. Where did the logo come from?
The logo, it's just a version of my logo, which is a phoenix with a bow tie.
Phoenix, okay.
Yeah, so I honestly wanted to portray the ideals of the phoenix, which has been done 1 million times. So I gave it to my designer, and I said, I hate to ask you this, but can you do something that doesn't look like it's been done 1 million times? And so the bow tie has kind of been my shtick for several years, and I actually enjoy it once I learned how to tie the darn thing. So that just kind of became my hallmark. And so then he comes back with 3 ideas that look like everything I'd seen before. And then at the last minute, he's like, oh, and I thought of this too. And he said that. And I went, That's it. And he's
That's
like,
what I'm
really?
looking
He's like,
for.
yeah. And he was like, I literally threw that together in 2 minutes. And I'm just like,
Oh,
well, I'm
wow.
sorry that you racked your brain for like 2 weeks before that, but good Lord, this is awesome.
Perfect.
So that's what that's all about. The Phoenix with the bow tie, rising from the ashes in freaking style.
Excellent. And I
Yeah.
commend you on tying real ties.
Thank you. It took me like, what, I think 12 YouTube videos and about.
It is a skill. Yes, it is.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you again. I've very much appreciated talking to you, Jarrod, and thank you for your offer. Everybody go check that out. We'll have the link here in the show notes. We are out of time. If you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the dreck out there, subscribe to the Lee After Dark YouTube channel. And now get Lee After Dark in your pants. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and who the heck else knows where else, so you can enjoy us wherever you stick your phone. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my new friend Jarrod. Be present and be well.